What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and in today's video we're going to be looking through nostalgia at FateZero. Alright, now let's get into it. Alright, if you guys are new to the channel, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. Go ahead and click the bell icon because it will notify you every time I upload a video, alright? Today's video is going to be a little different. I'm going to start a new series. It's called Looking Through Nostalgia. And basically what I want to accomplish with this new series is I want to rate the classics of anime. I want to look through the nostalgia, you know, have a fresh perspective on the anime that everybody says is a classic or it's very, very popular. And I just want to give it a rating of my own. Kind of looking through the fog of nostalgia. That's why I'm calling it Looking Through Nostalgia. And get into it, I'm going to talk about the production of FateZero. The production of FateZero was, in my opinion, was top notch. And the reason why that is because, of course, I think it's because of UFO Table or UFO Table, you know, whatever they're called, UFO Table. You guys know them. They did Demon Slayer. They did most of the Fate series. They've done, you know, incredible work over the past years. They're really a staple anime studio. The camera angles, all of the shots they did, the director of photography had to be I don't know. He was really putting off crazy shots. Just the amount of the camera angles really added to the suspense. One of the scenes that I really liked was in the beginning. They were talking to, I think it was Kirei, and then both of the church, his father and father of Ren, they were both walking around him and sync and making a circle around him. And I thought that was I didn't even, it really didn't hold that much significance, but I thought that was so cool, and how they were just switching back and forth between those two characters, walking around Kirei and getting him up to date on the Holy Grail. I thought that was one of the coolest shots I've seen in anime. It was really well done. Just the use of the lighting. There's such a big difference between the lighting when Saber is on the screen, and there's such a big difference between lighting when Gilgamesh is on the screen, for example. Whenever Gilgamesh is on the screen, he's usually, you know, in the dark little room that he's in with, and he's talking to Kotomine about, you know, pleasure and greed and basically sins that Kiri does not like, and his face is usually clouded by shadows, and I think that it really displays what Gilgamesh's character is about. And whenever you see Saber, she's not really, you know, her face isn't clouded in shadows. It's not, you know, she's out in the bright. She's always well lit, so you can kind of understand the contrast between Saber and Gilgamesh and their ideals. Overall, I think UFO Table did a great job with the production of this anime. I thought it was well shot, I thought it was beautiful. It still kind of holds up to anime today, even though the character designs are pretty similar to anime today. It's still you know, anime generic, but the animations, the shots they did, it really stuck out. It really gave me a different vibe than, you know, a regular anime that's just about action. It really stuck out from those competitors. Yeah, then we're gonna move on to the plot. For you guys that don't know, I'm gonna kind of preface the plot of FateZero. So basically, in Fate, you have 7 mages facing off with each other, and there's these 7 classes that these mages have to summon. These 7 classes are Saber, which is usually a swordsman, Lancer, you know, people with lances or spears. Archer, usually some sort of projectile weapon. Assassin, you know, they use the shadows. And Caster, and then you have Berserker, and then you have Rider. Classes that the mages are summoning are heroic spirits, and for each one of those classes, there are heroic spirits, you know, through history or folktale that are summoned through this. For Saber, there was King Arthur, the king of the Round Table. Archer was Gilgamesh, you know, the king of heroes. Caster, who was Gilad de Ra. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but he was the core leader of the French Revolution. he also like started the reign of terror in France. And I really like that dynamic, and because you get to see all these historical figures or folktale characters coming out and battling each other, and the interesting dialogue that goes in between them. One of my favorite parts in the anime was Arthur, Gilgamesh, and Iskandar, the king of conquerors, also known as Alexander the Great. And when they all sat down and just talked about what a king really is. Arthur was so conflicted that he didn't feel like he wanted to be king because of what happened to his kingdom. He wanted to restart. And basically Gilgamesh and Alexander, basically they kind of scolded him for that. They said that kings should never regret the things that they've been through. A king should never falter for his people. The king should always have his interest first, because when he has his interest first, you can set an example for your subjects. You can see that Arthur was very confused at this point, and he was very upset with the other kings like Gilgamesh and Alexander, and she just couldn't understand that idea or philosophy. And I really like that, because interpreting European past, we were talking about, there was a lot of philosophers in the Middle Ages like John Salisbury. They were talking about what's the difference between a prince, what's the difference between a tyrant, how can a prince set an example for his people, how should he lead them? And there was lots of discussion and philosophical takes about that back in the day, and they kind of brought it up in this anime, and I thought it was really intriguing. And then another interesting discussion in this anime was, we kind of got to see through Gilgamesh and Kirei the collide that they had back in the day too, in the Middle Ages, talking about pleasure and the church. And the church was basically the foundation of the government and everything back in the day. They basically ran every sort of secular office or anything. It was really interesting to see Kirei talk with Gilgamesh and Gilgamesh trying to persuade him to enjoy himself. He felt like Kirei was just going through the motions, and he needed to sit down and really think about what he finds entertaining. He needs to indulge himself in pleasure and really really find out what he wants, because Kirei is also in the Grail War. What we've seen from Kirei is that he's so unemotional in this. He doesn't do anything. He just follows everybody's orders. He doesn't have an objective. The whole purpose of the Holy Grail is to grant everybody a wish, and Kirei doesn't have a wish. So Gilgamesh is so intrigued by this, and he wants him to, develop as a character. He wants him to go and try to figure out what his wish is, because the Grail knows that Kirei has a wish, but Kirei does not know it himself. And Gilgamesh finds this so intriguing, because he's never met somebody that is like in a blank slate. He just seems like a doll. He doesn't really have emotions or ideals or goals. He does have ideals. He has the church ideals. So that's why Gilgamesh is trying to break him down and trying to see if he can get him to indulge in pleasure. And the church sees it as a sin. They don't believe that you should be chasing after pleasure, or pleasure should be the goal. And one of the things I loved about the plot in this, is that in order to move on and get to the Grail, you have to knock out your opponents. And when I mean knock out, the anime is very, very cruel and by any means necessary. The characters, they try to kill each other basically, and it's very realistic, and it's kind of sending a subtle message. In order to achieve a wish or something, or a wish or a goal, you have to trample over the wishes of others basically. And that's kind of the reoccurring theme in this anime. All of these noble, heroic spirits fighting, but the masters are not, they're not the same as them, and it doesn't mean being noble and chivalric does not mean anything to the masters, and they're just trying to get that wish, and they're, doing it by any means necessary, like assassination, the magic that they use, these really thought out plans. And it kind of shows the contrast between their heroic spirits, and their masters. Oh yeah, another section that I want to touch on is the openings and endings. I really appreciate the openings and the endings, and I would say like the music with this, the score, and the anime basically. And I really like that aspect of it. I really like openings that, you know, that are kind of like a puzzle and you have to like solve it. I think that was the main idea of the first opening. But then the second opening, you know, the song was great and everything, but I feel like it was less of a puzzle like the first one, so I didn't really get into it as much. I usually skipped the second opening because I was really interested into the plot and what was going to happen with the characters. So I kind of just skipped over the second opening. And for the endings, I don't really enjoy endings like that, but I think that the songs were good. The second ending, like the visuals, I didn't think there was much to it. I think there was just like words and, you know, like a drawing. It wasn't really a well animated ending. And the last point are the characters. And like I was talking about before, you know, in this anime, there's lots of philosophical ideas being tossed around, like what does it mean to be a king? What does it mean to indulge in entertainment and pleasure and things like this? The best relationship between master and servant, I really liked Alexander the Great and Waver, because Waver is basically a boy that he just entered the grill just to prove himself. And Alexander the Great, you know, he's this king that basically conquered most of Greek, Persia, and, you know, a little bit into Asia. And he's seeing this little boy that wants to just, you know, prove himself and, you know, seem more masculine. And I really like the relationship between them because, you know, it's kind of like a teacher-student relationship. It's like Alexander is teaching Waver, grow up, you know, develop as a man, and, you know, teach him the ideas of loyalty and what he should be striving for in life. Yeah, and plus, like, all the characters in this anime were like mythological characters or historical figures, like Gilda and Arthur, the King of the Round Table, Alexander the Great, Gilgamesh, like all of these, you know, mythological figures or historical characters. I really like the dynamic relationship between them and like how their philosophies clashed, how their mindset clashed with each other. I really liked how all of that, you know, tied together into this story. Overall, I think FateZero was fantastic. You know, looking through the nostalgia, I think that FateZero is a really good series, and I can understand why people call it a classic. I can understand why it's so popular. It's definitely way above the other Fate series, except for maybe Unlimited Blade Works. I haven't seen all of them, but I've seen like the newer ones. Newer ones aren't really well thought out or have interesting and dynamic characters as FateZero does. And I can see why everybody, you know, compares FateZero to anime coming out today, because it's a really good gateway anime. It's a really good anime for, you know, new people to start out. The recurring idea is like you have to trample over other people's ideas to achieve your ideal or your wish, which is the whole point of this anime, is to, you know, achieve the holy grail. I'm gonna go ahead and rate it. I'm gonna do, you know, going from S all the way down to S will be the highest and D will be the lowest. And I'm gonna say, for me, FateZero was an A. And I'm saying that because I really liked everything. I really liked the characters, I really liked the plot. I really like how realistic the anime is. I also like how all the historical figures and mythological characters were introduced, you know, as heroic spirits. I thought that was a really fun aspect of the anime. How you could see how, you know, their interpretation of how these characters would act in the modern world. I thought that was very interesting. And the reason why I'm giving it an A and not an S is that, you know, sometimes when they're doing battle, you know, whatever, sometimes, you know, somebody would get the upper hand and it really wouldn't make any sense. It kind of just like, you know, it's just for the plot, you know, to show off something, and that's kind of what I thought about when they were fighting Castor and his, you know, the little monster that he summoned. I didn't really understand how they got Berserker away from that situation. I feel like that was a little bit of a plot tweak. the power scaling inconsistencies. One of the examples is when Lancer, just basically teleported to Berserker and took him down. I really don't understand what was going on there because everybody's having trouble fighting him. All of a sudden, he just teleports and takes him down. I think that was a really, a plot tweaked fight. There's some inconsistencies throughout the story about between fights. It just doesn't really make any sense. And yeah, that's why I'm giving FateZero an A. This was a fun idea for a video. I just wanted to. This is going to be the first one in the series where I'm going to look through, anime classics and figure out if it's really a good anime to be called a classic, or if it's just a good anime, or if it's terrible also. So if you guys like this, or you guys want to see more of the series, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you guys want to see more videos like this. All right, peace.
Go.